Now this is a big one. There are 3 key games that were released for the Famicom in 1986. Games that defined what the system would be and what it was capable of. Gradius is the technical one, the peak of what the Famicom hardware would be capable of on its own. For the game that defined its own genre, you'll have to wait 2 days, and for the game that will make me miserable for the rest of the time I'm cataloging Famicom games, we have to wait until I reach the December games. Gradius was the arcade smash hit of 1985. It was the shoot-'em-up that broke the Xevious mold, and it became the new standard that everyone had to live up to. Now for my own shameful confession, I've always found that the compromises used to bring Gradius home were pretty rough. I understand why they happened, but that doesn't mean that I like that they happened. And as a result, I've always found the Famicom Gradius to be a bit disappointing. But even with my reservations, getting Gradius onto the Famicom as playable as it is, that's an astounding achievement. The story is simple enough. The Bacterian Space Forces attack, and you go out in Vic Viper to shoot them down. It's the definitive side-scrolling shoot-'em-up where you just press A and keep shooting the core. The key to the Gradius series has always been the power-up system. These capsules get dropped when you destroy the last enemy in certain formations, or if you shoot anybody who's red. That advances you on the power-up track at the bottom, and if you've got a word highlighted and press B, then you activate that power-up. Red capsules are the ones that add power-ups, blue ones destroy all enemies on the screen. So what are those power-ups? Well, speed up is obvious. You can move your ship around the screen a little bit faster. I'm told you can do this 14 times, but I never bothered to do it more than twice. Missiles drop out the bottom of your ship to bomb targets below you. They also chase on the ground for a little ways. Handy, but I never make it a priority. Double is probably the biggest misstep in the game. The way it's supposed to work is that it doubles your gun, adding a second one that shoots upward. Theoretically, it'd give you a spread shot. Unfortunately, it greatly restricts your firing rate, and as a result, it's almost impossible to use. Laser's the power-up that you usually want. The penetrating beam will help you clear out enemies pretty quickly. But the Famicom version breaks up the beam, and it winds up being less useful against durable enemies. These guys are a lot more difficult to take out with lasers than with regular bullets. Options are so iconic that after this, any small helper in a shoot-'em-up is referred to as an option. It summons these little balls that just follow behind you and fire when you do. In the arcade you could have 4 of them, but in the Famicom version you're restricted to 2. You will need these guys in order to survive some of the later levels. The question mark drops a shield in front of your ship. Well, I say in front of, but actually, it's the whole ship that's invulnerable. It doesn't just block attacks from the front. It can take a certain number of hits, and when it's about to run out, it turns red. You will absolutely need this in order to survive. A useful strategy once you're fully powered up is to collect just enough capsules to highlight that spot on the bar. That way you can reactivate the shield as soon as the current one drops. The power-up system is also one of Gradius's great weaknesses. Basically, anything from stage 3 on is dependent upon you flying a fully powered up ship. So if you die and lose everything, then it's virtually impossible to recover. And Gradius follows the recent trend in Famicom games of being insanely difficult. There are a couple mitigating factors. First, once per game you can pause, and then enter the Konami code. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. That gives you 1 speed up, missiles, 2 options, and the shield instantly. The other trick is that there's a continue code. As it says game over, press down, up, BA, 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 and you'll continue at the stage you left off at. Every stage starts with a few waves of normal enemies, so you do have a chance to get at least a few power-ups before things get nasty. Gradius is a game filled with secrets, too. There are bonus points for flying over certain parts of the stage, and fulfilling certain special conditions at the bosses can let you skip stages. With my limited time to play, I didn't get very far in the game. It'll take some real practice to beat it. There are a few tough spots for people starting out. At the end of stage 1, there are these volcanoes that erupt. People have a few different methods for dealing with it, but I like to have two options: fly straight up and then shoot out. The options should help screen me from any incoming shots. The other thing is Easter Island. The Moai heads here are just absolutely lethal with their constant spewing of those rings. With a bit of practice you can find a gap in them and get through, but this is a terrible spot to lose your power-ups. Gradius really stresses the Famicom hardware. You'll see both slowdown and flicker from time to time. It's not as bad as something ported by Micronics, but it can still be a bit annoying. Gradius is Konami's big shooter series, and as a result, it has a long, long legacy. There's monstrous piles of sequels, and tons of spin-offs. We don't talk about that one. On the Famicom, we're going to see 2 direct sequels. That's right, I'm calling Salamander a sequel, and Gradius itself got a special re-release. As a contest prize, you could get this version of the game, which replaces the power-ups with packets of ramen seasoning. These days, if you really want to play Gradius, there are many better options for you. It wasn't even that long before the game got better ports to other systems. But in 1986, this was a big deal. And even if I find it to be a bit flawed, I can respect this port. Nobody else is even coming close to doing something this spectacular on the Famicom yet.